Hello and welcome to Little Learners. I have been away from the channel for a little while, but we're back, and I thought a really good video for this time of year would be a school jargon buster. There are a lot of terms, words, phrases and acronyms that are used a lot in primary education, and for parents and for new teachers it can be really confusing. So I've put together a list of the ones that I think might be most helpful, and I'm just going to go through it and explain to you what they all mean. Don't forget, if you enjoy this video, to give it a like, as it really helps out the channel, and if you're not already subscribed, please do so to join the Little Learners family. Okay, so I'm going to be going over words to do with primary school. So to start off, let's look at infant, junior and primary. Infant refers to the stage of school that is Key Stage 1. We will get on to key stages in a moment. So infant school includes Year 1 and Year 2, and usually reception as well. Junior school focuses on Key Stage 2, so that is Year 3, Year 4, Year 5 and Year 6. A primary school, or an all-through primary school, teaches all key stages. So you will have both Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2, as well as reception, which comes before those, so you'll have reception through to Year 6. Usually, if you have an infant and a junior school, they will be quite close by to each other, or even sometimes on the same site, even though they are separate schools. Sometimes they might even have the same name, but a slightly different uniform. It really just depends on the area and on the school. Form entry. Now you may have heard or read that a school is, for example, 3 form entry. That just means that there are 3 classes in each year group. So for example, in Year 1 there will be 3 classes of 30, so you'll have roughly 90 children in each year group. Some schools may have less classes per year group. You might have a 2 form entry school, or even a 1 form entry school, which means there is only 1 class per year group. When talking about form entry, or how many classes there are per year group, you may hear the term bulge year. This just means that for a certain year group they needed more classes. So for example, if in the year 2000 more babies were born than on average, this is just an example, I don't know what the statistics are for that, but if there were more babies born on average, by the time those children need to go to school, certain schools may need to have an extra class because there are too many children. So that means that a 3 form entry school may add another class on, just so that that 1 year group is a 4 form entry year group. Key stage. So in the UK, education is split up into 4 key stages. Each key stage has its own part of the national curriculum, and at the end of each key stage there will be an assessment. So for example, at the end of Key Stage 4 in secondary school, we have GCSEs. At the end of Key Stage 2 in the UK, we have SATs exams. When we talk about Key Stage, this doesn't include EYFS, which I will get onto in a moment. So Key Stage 1 is Year 1 and Year 2, Key Stage 2 is Year 3, Year 4, Year 5 and Year 6, Key Stage 3 is Year 7, 8 and 9, Sometimes children in Year 9 will start on Key Stage 4 work. Key Stage 4 is usually Year 10 and 11, but some schools start it earlier. National curriculum. The national curriculum is the programme of study that most schools, the majority of schools, will follow. Within the national curriculum there are lots of different routes, and not all schools will be studying the same things at the same time, but the point of the national curriculum is to make sure that the same things are covered across all schools in terms of subjects and certain information, and that also the education in schools is more standardised so that all children get the same opportunity and the same learning. EYFS, or Early Years Foundation Stage. Now this is what most of my channel is all about, so if you have been watching my videos for a little while, you will know that the EYFS, or Early Years Foundation Stage, covers education from birth to age 5. If you want to find out more about the Early Years Foundation Stage, you can click the card or wait until the end of the video and click the link in the description box below. So the EYFS comes before the national curriculum, which takes over in Year 1. The EYFS is used by childcare providers, nurseries, reception classes, which we will get onto in a moment, and at the very end of the Early Years Foundation Stage, so when children are 5 or almost 5, they will be assessed against the ELGs. This stands for Early Learning Goals. These are a set of statements and teachers will assess children against them to see if they have reached the expected level for their age. What do I mean by expected level? They will be given a level, either emerging, which means they are working towards the statement, expected, which means they have achieved the statement, or exceeding, which means they have surpassed the statement. Reception. Reception is the year of school that comes before Key Stage 1, comes before Year 1. Some schools refer to it as Year R. The reception year is the end of the EYFS. Children enter reception age 4, although some of them may already be 5 if they have very, very early birthdays in the year. And for the majority of children, it is their very first compulsory year of education. SEND, or Special Educational Needs and Disabilities. You may have heard this, or you may still hear this being referenced to as SEN, Special Educational Needs. The D on the end is relatively new in terms of phrasing and acronyms. So the purpose of SEND is to identify and support children with additional needs. These additional needs impact on their learning, which means that the school then needs to give them some additional support. This can range from children needing slightly different equipment in the classroom, for example, and apart from that, they're good to go. And then at the very other end of kind of the SEND spectrum, you have children who need full-time support. You also have schools that are specialist SEND schools for children who are not able to be in mainstream schools because they need the support that mainstream schools can't give them. Because the world of SEND is so vast, schools need a SENDCO. This is a Special Educational Needs and Disabilities Coordinator. This is the person that you will speak to if you feel that your child has some difficulties at school, or if the school is already aware that your child has difficulties, they're the person that you will meet with regularly just to make sure that everything is a-okay. They do a lot of paperwork to do with the support that children need. They look into where they can access support from, and they also do a lot of work to obtain additional funding so the school can give children the support that they really need. SENCOs do so much more than I'm telling you in this video, so if you are a SENCO, please leave a description of what you do in the comments below so that people can really see it in depth. I can't really go into it too much in this video, otherwise we'll be here forever. An EHCP, or an Educational Healthcare Plan. This is a plan that is put together for a child who needs additional support and the school wants to try to obtain additional funding to support that child. An EHCP is not necessary for all children who have special educational needs or disabilities, but it is something that schools really rely on to get the funding they need to support children who do have additional needs that require a lot more equipment or a lot more time. If your child needs an EHCP, you will work with the SENCO to put that together and to decide what that's going to look like. An EHCP may mean that schools get more funding for equipment that a child needs, or for a specialist to come in to see them every now and again, or it might mean that the child gets some extra support from a person, so the school can pay someone to come in and support the child for maybe a few hours a week, all hours of the school day. It just depends on the child's needs. TA, or teaching assistant. So a teaching assistant is basically someone who assists the teacher. They do a lot of different things, so they help to teach and support the children in their learning. They help to prepare lessons, prepare the classroom, and really just help the teacher make sure the day runs well. It really depends on the school and the year group as to whether a teacher has a teaching assistant in their classroom. Some schools will have one teaching assistant for a year group, for example, so that teaching assistant will move around the different classes during the week. Some teachers may have a teaching assistant for the morning, for example. Some teachers may have a teaching assistant for the entire day, which if you do, that is incredible. The teaching assistant is honestly the most valuable resource you can have in your classroom. It's so wonderful to have an extra person who also knows the children, knows what is going on in the classroom, because obviously you share planning with them. And if you are a new teacher this year and you have a teaching assistant in your class, or there are experienced teaching assistants in your school, I would highly recommend going and speaking to them and just getting some words of wisdom. LSA, or Learning Support Assistant. This term is sometimes used for the person who supports a child who has an educational healthcare plan and therefore needs individual support from an adult. EAL, English as an Additional Language. You may also hear this referred to as ESL, English as a Second Language, but I don't think we really use that anymore, because obviously English might not be a child's second language, it could be their fifth language. So this acronym EAL is used for children who have English as an additional language. This may range from a child who is fluent in English, so doesn't need any support, all the way to a child who doesn't know English yet and is learning English for the first time and therefore needs a lot of support. Looked after child. A looked after child is a child who has been in the care of the local authority, I believe, for at least 24 hours, but usually it will be a child who has been fostered or has been in foster care. It can be a child who has been adopted and therefore they're with their forever family, but they are still technically known as a looked after child because they were in the care of the local authority for a time. With all these things that I'm talking about, like EAL, looked after child, SENCO, of course the teacher always knows what is going on and the teacher is extremely involved in working out what support different children need. So that's just a side note, but I thought I should mention that. Pupil premium. Pupil premium is a sum of money that is given to schools based on how many disadvantaged children they have in the school. Now, by disadvantaged, I just mean that the child's household income is lower than a certain amount. So there is kind of a threshold, and if you are under that, then your child is eligible for pupil premium. All pupil premium means is that if you are below that threshold in your household and you apply for pupil premium through the school, or you tell the school, yes, you can apply for pupil premium for my child, the school gets a bit of money. This is kind of the government's way of making sure that schools are putting support in place for more disadvantaged students who are less likely to achieve. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that all disadvantaged children won't achieve anyway. Of course it doesn't, but this is what pupil premium means. Now, a lot of parents and carers don't want to apply for pupil premium. They don't want the school to apply for pupil premium because I think it's often kind of a pride thing, because they don't want anyone to know that they're below that threshold. But honestly, no one else is going to know. The school really wants you to apply for pupil premium, and even if you're not sure if you're eligible, just apply for it anyway, because then the school might get some money if you are eligible, and it just means that the school can help your child more. That might mean that your school can buy more equipment, or your school can employ another TA so that the TA can be running some extra workshops for pupil premium children during the week, or there's so many different things they can do. But I would highly encourage you, if you are kind of on the fence about it, to just apply for pupil premium. No one else is going to know, no other parent is going to know, just the school, and it really does benefit the school. FSM, or free school meals. Kind of exactly what it says on the tin really with this one. It means that certain children may be eligible for free school meals. Again, this has a lot to do with household income, and if children are eligible for pupil premium, then that means they are also eligible for free school meals. NQT, this stands for Newly Qualified Teacher, and is used in a teacher's first year of teaching after they have qualified. Don't worry if your child's teacher is an NQT. I know that NQTs really worry that parents won't like it that they are an NQT, but honestly, NQTs have just come from the freshest training. They are really keen to do well and work really hard. When I was an NQT, the parents were wonderful. Some of them knew that it was my first year of teaching and none of them seemed to care, and my class did really well. So it's not a bad thing if your child's teacher is an NQT. RQT, Recently Qualified Teacher. This just refers to a teacher who is no longer in their NQT year, maybe in their second year now, It's rarely used, but if you see that, that's what it means. Inset Day. This stands for In-Service Training Day. Schools get 5 of these per year and they are used to train teachers in matters such as safeguarding, because you need to be doing safeguarding every year. You may also have training to do with subject-specific things, and teachers may often go out to training, but school does not happen on those days because those days are needed for training. So they are days within the school year that children would normally be at school, but school is closed for training. They are usually separated out across the year, so you don't get a block of 5 all in one go. Safeguarding is to do with keeping children safe. So it's all to do with preventing or managing harm coming to children. It is about making sure that children are safe in school, but also knowing the signs to look out for if a child is in danger out of school. So teachers are taught to look for signs of neglect, signs of harm, lots and lots of different things. Maybe I'll do a separate video all about safeguarding at some point, but basically, it's all to do with keeping children safe. Reading record. This is a kind of reading diary that goes between home and school. So when a teacher reads with your child at school, they will write down in the reading diary, they might write the name of the book, the date, and maybe a comment, although teachers don't always get a chance to write a comment because there's so much to do during the day. And then that will go home, and when you read with your child at home, you will also write in the reading record. You can write a comment, and then the teacher will look at that just so that they can see what the children have been reading, and then there is a record of the child's reading. Phonics. I have a whole playlist all about phonics. You can either click the card or wait till the end of the video and click the link in the description box below. It's all to do with matching letter sounds to graphemes, what the letter looks like when it's written down. So for example, the letter A has the sound A. DFE. This is Department for Education. They are the area of the government that deals with education. Teachers don't always agree with what they do, but anyway, that's a whole other video. Finally, Ofsted. This is a department of government that is responsible for inspecting schools, deciding if they are good or outstanding schools, possibly if they require improvement, and that grade is very important to many parents when they are choosing a school for their child. The kind of Ofsted framework recently changed and I made a video about it, so I will link it in the description if you want to wait until the end, or you can click the card to take a look. Okay, so that is all of the jargon that I could kind of think of that might come up and you might be a bit confused by. Do let me know in the comments below if there are any other words, phrases, acronyms that you've come across that you just don't understand and you need help with. Also let me know in the comments if there were any during this video that you didn't know and that you learnt today, because that's really helpful to know. As I said at the beginning of this video, please do give it a like if you found it helpful. If you made it all the way to the end, then well done, because this was quite a long video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.